Wait. So I was riding for an outfit in Alaska, guiding, and they brought in a mare, and she was a retired, the best I could understand, she was a retired barrel racing horse from here in Texas. And so when I signed on, they assigned her to me because nobody else, we couldn't put guest on her. None of the other wranglers wanted to ride her because her go-to was run. If something disturbed her, her head came up and it's run, just run. That's my answer to escape, to just run. And it wasn't something that I could physically fight and stop. And so that horse really made me step outside of the thought process of physically controlling something that has a mental emotional issue and getting in her head and figuring out what can I do if the problem is mentally or emotionally, what can I do to get into her head and get into her emotions and fix that for her. And so what I did, and it's so simple, it probably wouldn't even make sense to a lot of folks, but while we were sitting there and while she was calm, sitting there at the ranch waiting for others to get on the horses, I would just come in with the lightest little pressure and get her to tip her nose. Not pull her nose in, just give a signal, hey, tip your nose. So she'd tip her nose. And we just do that and just do that. And then when we get out on the trail and she started getting anxious about something and her head would come up, I would just default to that. And so she would find something that she was secure, the signal, and she would calm down, and she would calm down. And working with that mare for the summer, I made huge strides with myself in stepping outside of the norm of trying to physically control something that isn't ideal.
Yeah, I mentioned that I had ridden a horse for the first time in Texas, and they gave me whatever the leader of the group is for the horse, whatever that's called, and I was right far at the back, and this horse was eating, and the lady that was guiding the group said, just give him a little pull and he'll come along. I gave him a little pull, he didn't move. I mean, it is absurd to explain how strong these things' necks are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think he doesn't want to come. She's like, no, just like a little bit more. I'm like, I'm a pretty strong guy. So I was like, right, okay, I'll give it a big pull. Didn't move. I'm like, and by this time they're 100 yards away.
Yeah.
I'm like, still, he doesn't seem like he wants. She said, no, like a really big pull. So I went mixed grip, like you do on a deadlift.
Yeah.
Set my feet into the stirrups and like 1 rep max this horse's head up. And finally he got up. And that was absolutely not the most efficient way to get him to do that thing. There would have been a much better way than me.
Right. Well, so your average horse, your average quarter horse size horse, is going to weigh between 800 and 1,100 pounds. Okay? Now, what I teach folks is I don't want his body head up. And we go for the mind. And how much in life, you've got all these folks working for you here, and you can't physically browbeat and nag and threaten. You've tried. Does it work?
No. They're belligerent.
Yeah, I've already heard stories.
Yeah,
it's just,
they're abused.
Yeah. But you want to make things so that they decide that if this is what Chris wants done, it's in my best interest. I want to go do that. Yeah. And again, it's communication, and again, it's getting in the horse's mind and working with the horse in that manner. I'll give you an illustration if I can, all right? One of the cardinal sins in my book is when I go to get on a horse and the horse walks off, when I'm part way up. I'm stepping up, I'm swinging my leg over, and he's walking, he's leaving, okay? That's a cardinal sin. So we have a difference of opinion here, me and the horse. It's like, I want you to plant your feet, and I want you to be still while I get on, and then I'll tell you when I want you to go. He says, well, I want to go. So I'm not going to sit there and pull back and say, whoa, and do that one-legged hop along Cassidy down while I'm trying to get in the saddle. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to physically hold him back. I'm going to put my toe in the stirrup, and I'm going to go to step up, and when he walks off, I'm going to step back out, and I'm going to make him keep walking in a circle around me 8 or 10 times. I'm like, I wanted you to stand still, but you want to walk. I tell you what, I'm a nice guy. I'm going to let you walk. I'm going to let you do what you want in a controlled manner. You pick the tune, and I'll pick the dance. And I'll make him walk around. He's like, I don't want to walk anymore. But you said that's what you wanted, so I'm letting you do what you want. He's like, I don't want to walk anymore. Okay, stop. Whoa. I want you to stand here while I get in the saddle. And he says, and it may take a couple of times, but after a while, he says, you know what? I think what I want to do is I want to stand here while he gets in the saddle. You know, so we communicate. And when I got his mind, when I changed his want to, I didn't have to fight with his body. And so that's how you approach it. You understand and you communicate.
I've heard you say that sometimes you have to apologize to the horse for being an idiot.
Yes.
How do you apologize to a horse?
They don't care. I apologize to the horse for my sake. I mean, nothing the horse does is personal. All right. The horse will buck you off. They won't come back and apologize to you. They did what they did because that's what they felt was necessary at the time. And so they don't operate on that wavelength. But there's times when I do something and it turns out I'm like, that was my fault and that was stupid. You know, the horse doesn't take it personal either. And I can apologize to the horse, and the horse, it just isn't in his thing. But I apologize to the horse to humble myself and to bring myself down and to say, look, you need to pay attention, dummy, and not do that again. The horse doesn't he doesn't want an apology. He just doesn't want you to do it again.
Sounds like you've learned a lot to do with patience and humility through this.
Let's take any area. Okay, raising children. All right. I like to say that raising children is like holding a wet bar of soap. If you squeeze it too tight, it squeezes out, squirts out of your hands. If you don't hold it tight enough, it slides out of your hands. You know, raising children, you got to be balanced. There has to be discipline. We as human beings need discipline in our life, but there has to be love and grace and understanding. And so a lot of children who grow up with issues from being raised, you know, those issues are because their parents are out of balance one way or another. Marriage, you got problems in your marriage, it's usually somebody's out of balance. You know, they're too distant or they're too clingy. You know, they're too demanding or they're too permissive. They don't have personal boundaries. It's just out of balance. I think I see myself in a very small, tiny way, infinitesimal way. I see myself as the anti-David Goggins. I see myself as a guy, it's like, there's places where his message is needed. I'm not knocking the guy, okay? There are places where his message is needed, but his message is not needed for everybody, okay? I'm gonna probably step over a line here, and you can edit out anything you want, all right? I'm really bothered by these guys who are financial gurus who will fire you if you don't have a six-pack. There's a problem. There's a main thing, staying the main thing problem with that viewpoint on life. And I want to see men that I'm, for whatever reason, whatever way, brought in to influence. I want to see them find balance. I don't want to see them find money. I don't want to see them find six packs. If that is part of the result of it, fine, okay? But I want them to find balance, and I want them to find that place inside where they're like, my main thing is my main thing, and it's enough.
I've heard you say that a good man is born to serve, not born to make money.
Absolutely.
What's that mean to you?
Well, if I make money, and I've heard all excuses because there's guys who have a problem with me saying that, all right? But if I make money for me. Now, I've got, you know, my wife definitely benefits from it. And, you know, my children, although they're grown, they benefit from it. But ultimately, in the end, if I pour all my life into making money, that's for me, you know. But if I pour my life into as many people as is fitting, and I don't know, their life is better for me having come through.